Wednesday night in game one, Michael Jordan put on a three-point shooting exhibition in a stunning performance, but taking too many threes can hurt his overall performance, according to Michael.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
And so here we go again. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And in the previous video that I uploaded, I alluded to some of the factors as to why the NBA ratings are declining.
The threes they shoot tonight. I need to look it up because they find this ball, man.
The Warriors are averaging 42 threes per game, currently fourth in the league right now. Celtics still on top with 51 a game. Hornets second with 45. Bulls third with 43 three-point attempts per game.
43, 51, 48, and y'all scoring 110, 115. I don't know how that math has math for y'all.
Nasty work, Gil, to kiss her.
I literally do not know how that math. Can anybody look up the top scoring teams in history?
So this season, teams are averaging 113 points per game, which would be the 11th highest total in league history. But the top 8 spots are all from teams in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So,
just individually, right?
High scoring?
Yeah, high scoring.
Yeah. Wow.
With
no three line?
Ball takes
No
13 threes a night.
I know we like to blame Stephen Curry.
Somebody's been told to not.
I think you're right.
The people to pull the strings. It's like music. You gotta blame the people who run music. Music is trash because of the that are running music. There's no talent, no studio musicians, and that's why we're getting mediocre right now.
Yes.
And I think the same thing is happening with the NBA. I personally think that. I go, get some crashing the board. Shaq used to crash the boards. Damn, we want that back.
And so I came across this clip in which Michael Jordan is sitting down doing an interview immediately following the game in which he made 6 three-pointers against the Portland Trail Blazers. And believe it or not, that was an NBA record at that time.
Jordan for 3! Yes! That is an NBA Finals record. 5 3-pointers in a half.
And this is a very telling interview. This is an insight to an individual in Michael Jordan that loves the game of basketball. Outside of himself, outside of what the game has done for him, this is an individual, and you can tell it from this interview, that understands the game of basketball and how it's supposed to be played. I'm gonna go ahead and let it play, and then of course I'll come back and chime in.
Wednesday night in game one, Michael Jordan put on a three-point shooting exhibition in a stunning performance, but taking too many threes can hurt his overall performance, according to Michael.
My three-point shooting is something that I don't want to excel at because it takes away from all phases of my game. My game is a fake drive to the hole, penetrate, dish off, dunk or whatever. And when you have that mentality, as I found out in the first game, of making threes, you don't go to the hole as much. You go to the three-point line and you start sitting there waiting for someone to find you. And that's not my mentality. And I don't want to create that because it takes away from my other parts of my game.
And so although it seemed like Michael Jordan was talking about himself in the context of the game of basketball and shooting three-pointers, what he really was talking about, he was talking about the game of basketball in its entirety. Because Michael Jordan was a complete player, probably one of the most complete players outside of, I would say, Hakeem Olajuwon. You're talking about a 9-time all-defensive player, a defensive player of the year, multiple MVPs, multiple finals MVPs, 6 NBA championships, 11 all-NBA teams. And so we're talking about an individual that had zero weakness to his game and was gonna compete at a high level. Every single possession on both sides of the floor. And that's the way the game was supposed to be played, especially by your superstars. Because there was always specialists. We always had three-point specialists to come in and spot up and do their thing on that side of the ball and not necessarily be the best defensive player. And so, of course, players like that, their minutes were going to be limited. They weren't necessarily going to be the stars of the game. And now we fast forward 30 years later, and everything's the complete opposite. Now the stars of the game are one-way players, offensive players, and that's it. You got a few outliers. There's a few players that can do it on both sides of the end, but for the most part, there's a lot of one-way players. And it's not the players' fault because that's the formula that the NBA decided to go with. And it's a copycat world we live in. I can remember growing up, early on in life, I can remember going to the park and we would all choose players to try to emulate, players that we enjoyed watching within the NBA. Somebody would be Michael Jordan, so they would try to emulate Michael Jordan's game. Somebody would be Kobe Bryant. They would try to emulate Kobe. And now looking back at it, that was a good thing because those players had complete games. And so you had young players from an early age learning how to do it in multiple ways and multiple facets of the game and not just jack up three-pointers, because now that's what the kids are doing. If you go to any kind of organized basketball, whether it's AAU or any kind of organized basketball at all you're gonna see is kids trying to launch it past the three-point line. And so it's really sad when you think about it, especially if you love and enjoy the game of basketball. You realize there's a way that the game is supposed to be played, and it's not being played the way it's supposed to be played. And that's unfortunate. And I don't see an easy fix for it. I don't see one at all, because I think it's all by design, and I think the people that run the NBA, I think they want it this way for a reason. And I've talked about it in previous videos. I'm not gonna go into that on this particular video, but y'all know what it is. And so I don't ever think we're gonna see the NBA played the way it was meant to be played. When it was at its peak, I would probably say the 80s and the 90s was probably peak basketball. When we're talking about the competition, when we're talking about the style of play, when we're talking about the multiple facets in which players scored, I don't think we're ever gonna see that again. But all things change, all things come to an end, and it is what it is at the end of the day. But go ahead and chime in below. Let me know how y'all feel about it. Let me know if y'all think there's any fixing the NBA. I don't think so, but I may be missing it. And so go ahead and let me know. And as usual, peace and chaos.